Happy Thursday. Normally, I would do a video about fentanyl or some other drug on Thursday. I don't know if I'm going to continue that, to be honest. But some good news is I think I'm actually making progress on my illegal flea population, my illegal immigrants of United Front of Fleas terrorist groups that's terrorizing my dog and myself. I looked at the traps today. I don't really see a whole lot of new fleas on them. I mean, there's definitely new fleas on them, but they're not in mass as they used to be. So hopefully, I continue the course that I'm on, vacuuming every day, at least vacuuming the carpets, putting down some DE dust to help dry them out, and hopefully just doing that for a couple of weeks. I could definitely get the population under control. I did get a rosemary plant shipped today. The box was in kind of damaged, kind of dented in, but the plant itself, perfectly fine. Gave it some water, put it outside to let it, recover a little bit. Probably put it in a bigger pot. So I'm building a natural defense for the flea population. But that's not why you clicked on this video. You clicked on this because I put Dems Big Mad Over Republican governors over immigrants. Well, gov, but it doesn't really matter. Guess I could have done GOP. No, I'm going to keep it the way it is. So what am I talking about? Oh, there's a fury of stories coming out. This is from the Politico. GOP governor put focus on migrants with Martha Vineyard transport. Republican governors this week have escalated their campaign to transport migrants across the country, deepening the war with Biden administration and the Democrat states over immigration ahead of November elections. No, they're not escalating. Border states are being overwhelmed. I think the latest report is the people coming over, the amount is equal to a small city. That is a new city of population coming over our border. We don't have the resources on the border towns. We don't have the resources in border states. Yes, I do know California and Texas are pretty big, and even our resources are getting drained. The escalation came from Biden when he ignored the duties to protect this country, to protect our borders. So he's the one that declared war on the border states. He's the one that declared war on these GOP governors. All for what? Political points for their voting base? Because these people can't vote. These illegal aliens can't vote. Illegal immigration. You want to call them migrants. You want to call them whatever you want to call them. They're not coming over here legally. Of course, the latest move came from Republican Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida and Greg Abbott of Texas, both who transported migrants from the southern border to Democrat strongholds. Abbott on Thursday sent 2 buses of migrants to a location near the Vice President Kamala Harris residence in Washington, while DeSantis Wednesday directed at least 1 plane carrying dozens of migrants to Martha Vineyard. The Florida governor moved sparked local and state emergency response in Massachusetts and the accusations from Democrats that Republicans are politicizing the immigration without recognizing the harm that their moves are causing migrant families. I don't care. I really don't care. This is frustrating to me because they're not supposed to be here in the United States. There's a legal process and they're not following it. We have the federal government ignoring their duty, their derelict of duty to protect the border, and they're failing to do this. What about the United States citizens living on the border? What about the harm that this illegal crossing is causing them? What about the strain on our border control people? But yeah, let's bend over backwards, open the door, and blame the GOP for the open border policy President Biden has created. But yeah, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, a Democrat whose state has seen an influx of migrants bust from the border, said the legal authorities are looking into whether or not there is a criminal liability for sending people without notice to a city or state where they will be sent. A decision by DeSantis to fly migrants to Martha Vineyard, a summer enclave for the national elites, drew particular rebut from Democrats who said Florida governor had gone too far. I don't think he's gone far enough. I mean, I don't know what you want border states. I know Florida is not technically a border state, but it's around 100 miles from Cuba, where most of these people are taking the dangerous trip on rafts. If it floats, they're making that trek to Florida. I think it's incredibly inhumane to use human beings as political pawns, to put them on the plane and ship them like cattle. Dylan Ferendez, a Democrat state representative whose district includes Martha Vineyard, said on a Thursday morning. I think it's inhumane to secure our border. I think it's inhumane to say all are welcome. I think it's inhumane to let these people, or give the message, give these people hope to take that dangerous trek from South America through Mexico on foot. And there's no repercussions. There's no kicking them out. There's not even an appearance of an attempt to kick them out. And I don't even think it's a midterm issue, because Greg Abbott has been doing this pretty much from the start of this year. Because as big as state of Texas is, as rich as the state of Texas is, we have limited resources. I'm not going to finish reading this because I got more to report on. Report: Biden urges Mexico to take migrants under COVID expulsion order he vowed to end. Washington, Mexico City, a border crossing has soared to record highs. Oh yeah, this is from Bio News. Bio doesn't matter. Washington, Mexico City, as border crossing soared to record highs. U.S. President Joe Biden administration is quietly pressing Mexico to accept more migrants from Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela under the COVID-19 expulsion order that the White House has publicly sought to end. 7 U.S. and 3 Mexican officials said. The U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken raised concerns about the escalating numbers of crossing the border by migrants from 3 countries during the visit on Mexico to Mexico City. 2 U.S. and 2 Mexican officials told Reuters, but Mexico did not promise any specific actions. Hold Mexico accountable. They're going through Mexico. Put sanctions on them. Do tariffs. Make it unbearable for Mexico to where they have to also deal, because Mexico plays a major part. Yeah, they might want to play neutral or assume to be playing neutral, but they are playing a big part. They are allowing migrants into their country to go to their northern border, United States southern border, and cross over into the United States. We must hold Mexico accountable. Once we hold Mexico accountable, they could hold other countries accountable, preventing this from happening. One U.S. official said trying to convince Mexico to agree is an uphill battle. All sources requested anonymity to discuss the internal government matters. Mexico already accepts U.S. returns of migrants to Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador. So far this fiscal year, about 299,000 people from those nations have been expelled at the border, compared to about 9,000 returned from Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. U.S. effort to pressure Mexico onto these 3 particular nationalities illustrates the depth of the concerns within the Biden Democratic administration about the border crossings. Most migrants from Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela who cross the United States are allowed to stay to pursue asylum claims since they are difficult to deport due to frosty diplomatic relations with their government. Mexico Foreign Ministry declined to comment. A spokesperson from the White House National Security Council declined to discuss diplomatic conversations, but said that the nations in the region have already begun taking collective responsibility for managing migrant flows, including through repatriation. U.S. border agents have made a record 1.4 million migrant arrests so far in the fiscal year of 2022. That is a large city. That is a large city. That is a small state of people. 1.8 million people. That is an invasion military size like the likes of the world has never seen. With many attempting to cross multiple times, creating humanitarian challenges and political liabilities for Biden ahead of November 8th midterm elections. Of those arrests at the southern border, nearly a quarter of the migrants were from Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, up from 8% in 2021 and 3% in 2022. Not 22, but 2020. Most were led into the United States to pursue immigration cases. The Biden administration has publicly sought to end the COVID health order known as Title 42, issued early 2020 under the former Republican President Donald Trump. It allowed the U.S. Borders Authorities to rapidly expel migrants to Mexico or other countries without a chance to seek asylum or U.S. asylum. A federal Trump-appointed judge in Louisiana blocked the administration from ending the order this year, even as U.S. health officials says it was no longer needed to protect COVID. I think you're getting a picture here, I hope. Biden quietly pushes the take. This is from the New York Post, which I think is just a rehash of what I just read. Pretty much double standards, double speak. Biden says one thing but farts out another. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. But this is also from the New York Post. This was back in October 8th, 2021. The charter flights originated from Texas, where ongoing border crisis has overwhelmed local immigration officials. This has been underway at least August, according to a source familiar with the matter. Last week, the Post saw 2 planes landing in Westchester County Airport, where most of the passengers who got off appeared to be children and teens, with small portion appearing to be men in their 20s. Westchester County cops stood by as passengers whose flights arrived at 10:49 p.m. Wednesday and 9:52 p.m. Friday got off and piled into buses. Some who were later seen meeting up with relatives or sponsors in New Jersey or being dropped off at residential facility of Long Island. A Post analyst on the online flight tracking suggests around 2,000 of the underage migrants have arrived at the airport outside the white planes of 21 flights since August 8. In the dead of night. Records show that some planes have touched down between midnight and 6:30 a.m. with a volunteer crew in effect, with 2 arriving from Houston at 2:13 a.m. and 4:29 a.m. on August 20th. The clandestine nature of the operation raised questions about how the White House is dealing with the recent surge of unaccompanied minors. Most recent figures of the U.S. Customs Border Protection show during July and August, 37,805 unaccompanied minors were caught entering the U.S. from Mexico, sometimes after being abandoned by professional smugglers, known as coyotes. Video shows some children dropped over the border wall or abandoned in remote areas. This is a serious issue. This is what's happening under Trump as well. They would just ship their children in here because they want a better life for their kids. They would rather not raise their kids and hope for a better life than stay in terrible conditions at their home country. I get it. There's a part of me that feels bad about them, but this is not the way to do it. Biden tried to do this under the nose of governors and mayors, but yet he doesn't get called out for it. He does not get called out for it. Our governor here in Texas, other border towns or border states raise the alerts that goes onto deaf ears. They're called racist for even bringing up the topic. Pretty much the federal government wants us to just deal with it, front the cost, without a single mention of complaint. That's what it seems like. And as soon as the governors fly migrants out of the state, is now being used as pawns. I don't think they were publicly announcing this. I think Abbott did. But this is the issue. We're not getting fair warning that people are crossing. We don't get to choose who's coming into our state from the southern border. So now all these Democrats are pissed. I don't really care. New York wanted to be a sanctuary city. Guess what? We gave them migrants. You can't say that you're a sanctuary city and not accept migrants. Let's see here. From the Washington Times, this was September 12th, I believe. Yeah, 12th. It's not just Texas that is busing illegal immigrants deep into the country. Uncle Sam is doing it by paying nonprofit organizations tens of millions of dollars to help transport and settle migrants into more communities. The Biden administration is sending the money through Federal Emergency Management Agency via the program created in the 1990s to deal with homeless. In recent years, the homeless mission have been overtaken by the task of helping illegal immigrants who have been caught and released at the border take their first steps towards settling in the United States. President Biden asked this month for an infusion of cash of emergency food and shelter programs at FEMA. He said that the border situation has become too much to handle with the current funding. He also sought an infusion of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement so the deportation agency can help shuttle migrants around the country, as he asked for $1.8 billion more for Health and Human Services Department to house illegal immigrant children and provide assistance more broadly to other border jumpers. The requests are part of the administration proposed for continuing the government funding fiscal 2023, which starts in October 1st. Congress hasn't made any progress on annual spending and is expected to pass a continued resolution that would maintain 2022 funding levels for the next fiscal year. Still, Mr. Biden says needed. Actually, I should say President Biden. It's probably a right-wing source. Still, President Biden says needs are urgent, and immigration spending is part of that submitted to Congress. The White House blamed the emerging needs along the southern border. Senator Shelley Moore, capital of West Virginia, the top Republican on the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Appropriations Subcommittee, said the money that the White House is requesting doesn't begin to address the fundamentals of the border crisis. Biden administration needs to address the crisis at the border more broadly than any CR anomaly. She told Washington Times in a statement, "We have suppressed over 2 million migrants for the fiscal year, yet they continue to avoid the decisions to help actually stem the crisis by closing the freaking border." President Biden is more than a year and a half into the migrant surge. Although overall monthly numbers have dipped, they're still running at near record pace. In July, U.S. officials counted nearly 200,000 unauthorized migrants at the border. 200,000 people is a small military force. I keep on referring to these people as military force, as an invasion. I think United States sent 200,000 troops into Iraq and Afghanistan each. That is an invasionary force of numbers. Now, I'm not saying that this is an invasion. I'm not saying it's a military invasion. I just want to put that in perspective of numbers. That is a small army. Most were caught and then released. Texas, which has been slammed by the surge, had been busing migrants to Democrat-run city as a way to share the pain. The state is sending willing migrants to Chicago, New York, and the District of Columbia. Arizona is also busing migrants across this border because they can't send them back to Mexico. Because in order to send them back to Mexico, you need the federal government's blessing. They don't have the federal government blessing. I don't know what they're thinking. Biden administrator said that those efforts undermines the Homeland Security Department's ability to keep track of released migrants. So what? We're supposed to just deal with it? As a citizen of Texas, I'm supposed to just deal with illegal immigration coming into my state? I'm supposed to feel the burden while you go sit behind a gated community protected by people with AR-15s or M4s or M16s. I'm supposed to feel the dangers of Mexican cartels coming to my town, running amok, selling fentanyl to kids. I'm supposed to deal with that pain. I don't know. These are questions I want to ask these people. Why should Texas, why should Arizona, why should New Mexico have to feel the full brunt of these illegal crossings while New York or Maine or Michigan or name a city that's not on the border doesn't have to feel the pain? Why doesn't Chicago have to feel the pain? Why shouldn't Illinois, which is Chicago, why shouldn't New York City, which is part of New York, not feel the pain? Instead, the administration wants to rely on emergency food and shelter. The 1980-era Homeless Assistance Program has become chief vehicle of helping migrants caught and released at the border to where they want to go. They don't get to choose. They broke the law. They get to go wherever we choose for them to go. I don't really care about their rights. When it's what? Almost 2 million people have crossed the border this year? That's more of a population than a small state. Something that needs to be done. And either the midterms, we elect nothing but Democrats, and I have to stop complaining because that's what the will of the people is, or we vote in the red wave, which gets a whole bunch of Republicans in, and that still won't fix the issue because the power lies within the president. I mean, there's things that Republicans could do if they have the balls to do it, which is impeach Biden and remove him from office, then remove Vice President Harris from office as well. That's the only card that they'll have to play in order to fix the immigration policies. And to be fair, both parties play this stupid game. They never seem to fix the issue. They just seem to bicker and blame the other side. It is time to stop blaming the other side. It is time to come together, both Republicans, Independents, and Democrats, and fix the border issue once and for all. Stop using this as a pawn for political gain and fix the issue. This has been going on since the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and now 2020s. This is an issue that's been brewing and is going to continue to brew until we elect responsible representation in Washington, D.C. that's willing to put country over self. All right, this has been a really long video. Hopefully you found it somewhat informative. Hopefully you found my opinions worth it. Leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are. Please smash the like and subscribe button on any all platforms or just the platform that you're currently watching. But most importantly, have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.